Welcome to the POMcast with Stephen Willis. Now we're going to do things a little different. We are going to provide an honest look at Ole Miss athletics for the fan, by the fan, and of the fan. That is what we do. Hell be to me. I'm just kidding. Tune in for some Ole Miss sports news. We're going to give it to you straight. Yeah, right now. The POMcast starts now. It happens now. Holy cow. Listen to me. It's starting. Well, it's going to start right about now. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the POMcast on this beautiful Wednesday day. At least it's beautiful here in Central Florida, down at the Palatial Florida studios. We are glad you are joining us. Today's show will focus mainly on the first day of spring practice and the 5-2 win over Central Arkansas last night. Normally we do an instant reaction on the channel. I was just worn slap out. I'm still kind of basically recovering from getting my vaccine. Fatigue is a little bit of a side effect, and soreness of the arm. That's all I got. But as we move on to shot 2, it's worth doing this to get back to normal. But yesterday was the first day of spring practice, and I'm very excited, as were all of you. We're going to do a little highlights of the press conference a little bit. We're going to talk about what went down. And in the baseball game, we'll talk a little bit about that and what to expect this weekend as well, because now that has become the most important thing. And also a reminder to everybody, women's basketball tickets are on sale now for the women's NIT semifinal against Northern Iowa Friday. Get those, be there, cheer on the Lady Rebs as they go for the NRT championships. They're two wins away from getting that done. Okay, for this show right here, what we're doing at the moment, you can catch us on Twitter at The Rebel Walk. That is at The Rebel Walk or at The Stephen Willis. You can catch us on Facebook at facebook.com/POMcast. Catch us on YouTube at positivelyolemiss. You can search us that way. Hit the bell, subscribe, please. If you hit the bell, anytime we go live, you will be notified that it's happening. We try to give it a couple of minutes of leeway time from the time you get that notification to get everybody in. So we can do that. And we're also streaming live on Twitch at positivelyolemiss, all one word. If you looking at the channel as a whole, which is coming very soon. There's different things we're planning on doing that. Willis Digital Media. That's on YouTube and Twitch, and we're going to do things on there. We're thinking about doing things like reviews of TV shows, theme park reviews, little nooks and crannies inside the parks. Basically a destination Orlando where everybody likes to vacation anyway. So we're thinking about doing something like that as well. And let's see what's going on. We got the podcast back up. My wife, who is a genius, she might be the smartest person on the planet. She figured out how I can upload audio for the podcast after the show and not record it while it's happening. So yeah, pretty smart stuff. It's always a good thing when you marry a fellow idiot, so we can bounce ideas off each other and get everything done that way. But she figured out how to do that. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, and Pandora. We're also on numerous lower-level podcatchers. And that takes a little bit of the strain off the switcher, which allows us to stream a lot more smoothly. After that first day of the audio problem, I can't deal with that audio sync issue. But thank you for tuning in. Yesterday was the first day of spring practice, and basically, if you are familiar with practice at all, they're going to do acclimation days. Tomorrow would have been helmets only. I think you do that 2 days, and then you do a day or two of shells of helmet and shoulder pads, and then you can go full pads like a week or two in. That's just the way the NCAA has been. It's the way they've always been. But yesterday was a first in the Lane Kiffin era, as in the first spring practice. He was able to get them out on the field and teach them, and that's good for kids like Luke Altmaier and MJ Daniels, Tysheem Johnson, all the young kids coming in at the midway point. Yesterday is very good for them. Remember, spring football is not about the 11. You can't look at it as the totality of the team. You can't look at it as anything that they're doing. It's about increasing the sum of the parts. You want your cornerbacks to get a little better. You want your defensive line to get a little better. It's about individual work, and Lane Kiffin talked about that yesterday. But let's see. Well, let's just do highlights of the press conference yesterday, and then we'll start breaking it down. That's what we're going to do today. So here's Lane Kiffin and others with the press conference, and we have a little video practice yesterday. So stick around.
We don't address a lot of injuries, but I'll give you the out for spring completely, so we don't have to answer those all the time. Casey Kelly, Ely, Dalen Gill, and DeMarco Williams are all out for all of spring. Obviously, there's a bunch of other guys that are limited or will be back at some point, but we anticipate everyone else being available at some point of spring. First day, weather kept us inside, so a little bit of logistics issues there. Just getting everything done with one field, so thought we did fine with that. Excited to get on the field. As we know, we never had a spring before, so that's a really good opportunity for these guys, all the returners. Unusual year with that because very few players are not here from last year's roster, unlike normal, seniors and attrition from transfers. So, and then having so many mid-years, I think, 14 or 15, 14 scholarship, I believe, mid-years. A lot of new people in there, so it's great to have for spring. I want to say 12 of the 14 are defensive players, and a lot of those in the back end, so creates a lot of competition there, and hopefully gives some help on defense and special teams for sure.
Just building on what we did last year, really. We know what we have on the offensive side of the ball, and just growing on that. And like he said earlier, we know my mistakes and we know what to work on. So they're harping me every day on what to get better at, and it's nothing that I don't know. We all know that I need to work on it. So just taking the leap that I made last year to this year.
From the defensive point of view, it's basically like we really can't get no worse. As you can see it took us all season to get down to defense without having a spring. Actually, it hurt a lot. But I feel like we came together that Indiana game, and now we know what the defense can actually do. Now it's time to just build on it during the spring. And by the time the season get here, we're clicking on all cylinders.
Well, he's not here yet, so he'll be here in the summer, and we'll look at that then. I do think that if you're going to be really good in college football nowadays, you got to have more players. You got to be able to rotate and basically, too deep at all positions. Used to just be defensive line, but now because of tempo, and especially when you're a tempo team like we are on offense, you play more plays on defense, and you're back out there a lot quicker. So, if we're able to develop, too deep at all our positions where we feel really good about it, we'll be way better. So we don't have guys like last year playing 70, 80 snaps in a game. Well, I know we have more bodies at certain positions because basically whatever, I don't have a percentage, but I'm going to say 90% of, your roster returned, and then you added these mid-years. So, that should, and if, a guy like Springer that was ineligible, or Mark Robinson that was ineligible a year ago that were here but weren't allowed to play. So that should be better depth. I think that's going to be specifically on defense and, with the back seven, with, like we said, some new players coming in there. And that'll create, competition and make everybody better, hopefully.
All right, you heard from Lane Kiffin there, and Chance Campbell is summer enrollee, the transfer from Maryland linebacker. You heard about Mark Robinson and Jacob Springer and eligibility, so they're actually kind of competing, doing what needs to be done. I think Jacob Springer was a former all-conference guy in the American, so it helps the back end of the defense very much there. He's kind of a star-type player. He's kind of a tweener. Him and Otis Reese kind of do similar things. Although Otis Reese looks like he leans a little bit more towards the back end of the defense as opposed to the star, and Jacob Springer kind of leans towards star. So if you made me guess, it would be Jacob Springer at the star and Otis Reese at strong safety. In other words, it's a huge spring for AJ Finley because there's young guys that are desperately trying to get a position on the field. They're desperately trying to make this work, and all of a sudden you have these older guys in position where you staked a claim to the position. Now you have to hold on, and that is what we're looking at in spring camp. This is what it's going to all be about for the defense. It's going to be about players making jumps to hold their positions, or else they will lose them to the younger guys coming in. It's all about competition. It's all about pro mindset. It's all about fun. Those are the three characteristics of the culture right there with the Lane Kiffin coach program. Luke Altmaier had a very good day. Spun the ball quite well, they said. They always talk about how smart he is and how easily he picks things up, and the ball comes out of his hand in a very natural way. Lane Kiffin said yesterday either a quarterback can throw it or he can't. You can't really teach that one way or another, and he had a big day throwing the football as well. It's a big spring for him, and it's a big spring for Kincaid Dent because Kincaid Dent he needs to get that number 2 role. He's not going to beat out Matt Corral. That's just not going to happen. But he's trying not to lose any ground to Luke Altmaier. If Luke Altmaier gets the 2, it's over. It's all she wrote. Basically he has a decision to make at that point. But I mean, you can see a lot of guys, a lot of energy, looking forward to get out there. You can't really tell much in a helmet only day. Yesterday was about energy. It was about the first day of practice. It was about excitement because you're not having to do 6 a.m. weight room work. It's really about those things. But yesterday was the first day. It went off fairly well. I heard nothing so much about injuries. You heard at the beginning that Lane Kiffin announced 4 or 5 players that will be out the whole spring. There are certain other players they'll be out for parts of it, but they'll practice in some of it. So, yeah, those are kind of the big news items of the day. Relatively easy day to come out of the news-wise, but a few stories are out there, including Mark Robinson getting name dropped, the linebacker transfer from Southeast Missouri. But Jacob Springer actually being able to go is a pretty big deal, especially for the back end of that defense. I expect a huge jump to be made just on the backside of that defense. Sliding Tylen Knight in and Otis Reese in, you saw the improvement that it made last year and what they did in the Outback Bowl. In their victory over Indiana. The defense performed quite well. Sam Williams getting some time in the system. Now, we just have to realize that going into last year because of COVID or whatnot, and there's several other normal things that kind of happen as well, that Ole Miss was behind the 8 ball about as far as you could be defensively. And it showed early in the season. I mean, Florida and Kentucky and Alabama just had their way. Just went up and down the field. Now, part of that is them being fairly good offensively, but part of that was us not really understanding what needs to be done. We didn't have a spring. The fall camp situation was just like a regular game week practice. And as the season went on, you saw it get better and better and better. There were steps back, like the LSU game. There was a step back, but there's a lot of step forward too. You can see it going. And against Indiana, it really showed. And all those players are going to try and build off of that performance. But all these young guys are coming in to take the job. We're talking about major competition on the defensive side of the ball that's going to be nothing but good for that side of the unit. Offensively, we know what they can be. They lost Elijah Moore, Kenny Yeboah, and Royce Newman. Big springs for Eli Acker, Ja'Cour Pearson, because it's going to be big for Ja'Cour Pearson because you have a chance to nail down that slot position while John Rice Plumlee is that way at baseball and J.J. Henry's away. He'll be here in the summer as well. So it's a chance for him to make a lead. If he has a bad spring, if he doesn't catch on well, if something happens that sets him back, it's going to be bad for him because those young guys and John Rice Plumlee are coming. He'll have a nice advantage that he can have going into that position. So you look at that slot position, Hudson Wolf, a huge, absolutely huge spring practice for him. A true freshman for that build for the fall. The transfer is supposed to come in. We don't really know who that is at this point. Casey Kelly out with an ACL, and then you have Chase Rogers. So it's not much. So he can build a league as well. So that is the situation on offense. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little baseball, I think. And yeah, we'll do a little baseball when we come back. Talk about the win over Central Arkansas and look ahead towards Alabama. So take care and stick around.
You want to answer that, don't you? I bet it's just killing you seeing the soft glow just inches away. Someone wants to tell you something or ask you something. Oh, come on, answer it already! Just so we're clear, that wasn't my fault. Next time, ignore your inner voice. Don't text and drive. A message from Florida's trusted choice independent insurance agents.
Hey, this is Stephen Willis. I just want you to stick around a little longer. We're going to get back to the podcast right after these messages.
Tonight, nearly 40,000 veterans across the country are homeless. These men and women have pledged to serve our nation, and now we must serve them. Landlords across the country have helped make significant progress in reducing veteran homelessness by making housing available, but there is more that we can do to bring our veterans home. Visit www.va.gov/homeless to see how you can get involved. And if you are a veteran and you are experiencing homelessness, please call 877-4AID-VET. Thank you.
All right, welcome back to the POMcast. I'm your host, Stephen Willis. First day of spring practice was yesterday. We talked about that in the first segment. Also told you how to listen to the show, both audio and video. My super genius wife able to figure out how to basically save the podcast, or else we were looking at $300-400 worth of investment just to do what we need to do. But she figured out a way around it, so good for her. Really, really smart move. Ole Miss defeated Central Arkansas last night 5-2. Tim Alco went yard, Hayden Dunhurst went yard, Jacob Gonzalez went yard. They won by the long ball. They didn't have a great night with the bats, but it was, with the Alabama series being a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, that Tuesday game meant a lot of changes were made. T.J. McCants at second, Knox LaPazzer, I believe, catching, is things like that. But they won the game, and that's all they needed to do. There's no such thing as style points. Now, you want to look good, but especially in college baseball when nobody's looking, it's more like box score style points. But Ole Miss went to 17-4 going to Alabama. Alabama will be without their ace this weekend. But here's what Mike Bianco had to say about last night and moving forward.
I'm not too worried about, and don't misunderstand. I think a lot of times when you go on the road, you're worried just more logistically. You're worried about getting on a bus, being in a hotel, the meetings, and kind of the itinerary and what we do. So even when we go to a neutral site, a lot of that is why we do it, And so now, as far as being on the road and at a hostile place, you're talking about playing a really good team, a team that's over the past 2 years, the COVID year last year and this year, probably has won as many games as anybody in the country, Alabama, and off to another great start this year. So we know we're going to have our hands full, and but as far as the road part of it, hopefully we're going to be able to handle it, and handle the crowds, and it'll be a little different for us though. I will bring him. As of right now, it looks like we're bringing him unless something happens tomorrow morning. But he threw today a bullpen, and felt pretty good, looked pretty good, and a little different, with his situation, just because we know exactly what it is. It's really strength, and can he do it? And you're looking for him to give you an inning, when he runs out there, So, but he's hit all the marks and really has done a great job through rehab with Josh Porter. So we're going to bring him, just in case we can use him, and if not, he certainly continues his rehab and can throw a bullpen while we're over there.
All right, that was about Max Chaffee, who is going to be available this weekend. Also, earlier in the press conference, he said that Doug Nikhazy will be back. That was confirmed as well. So he'll be back on Saturday. The rotation will be Hoagland on Thursday. Friday will be Doug Nikhazy, and Saturday will be Derek Diamond. It's going to be righty, lefty, righty. Mike Bianco wanted to break up the two right-handed arms because, honestly, Derek Diamond was getting hit a little bit this year because the team has a chance to go back-to-back against a similar style pitcher that Mike Bianco calling pitches is going to be a fairly similar thing. And honestly, there's not much of a difference between 95 and 97. So if you can get one, you can get them both. And you got the master class at Hoagland and seeing that, and then you see a little bit younger guy in Derek Diamond. That is a big thing. Tim Elko hit a bomb last night to the opposite way. Him and Hayden Durnhurst went back-to-back following Jacob Gonzalez's home run. Every now and then you just worry that you misspoke and just going off the top of your head. But the goal this weekend should be to get 2 games. Go 2-1 on the road, you get a road win. Basically, what needs to happen to host basically is go 2-1 at home, go 1-2 on the road, and get a win or two on the road. Grab a couple of those series, go 2 for 3 if you can, and that puts you at like 16-14, 17-13, and you're safely hosting, and that's the way it goes. So this is a chance to get one of those road series wins. That's what makes this important. Ole Miss starting, if they go 2-1, they'll start the SEC slate at 5-1, which should be the goal. And you can kind of go with the gauntlet coming up of Florida, Mississippi State, Arkansas, Vanderbilt. Those guys are still on the schedule. And you don't want to fall behind the 8 ball early in the season in games like this, because it's going to come back to bite you, and it's going to make it a little bit harder when the competition really grows. And I mean, that's just the phase. I mean, Jack Leiter and Kumar Rocker are coming to Oxford this year. Can you wait to see that weekend where Kumar is going against Doug and Jack Leiter against Gunnar Hoagland? And I mean, you're talking about a major pitching battle where you could have 1-0 games both of those days. If both of those have their A games and throw it the way they're supposed to do, it could be a fantastic pitching duel. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, Gunnar Hoagland is throwing very well, and he's only a couple of starts away from moving into that elite conversation, to where you put him up there with Lance Lynn and Drew Pomerantz and those guys. I mean, he's done a lot of really good work throwing the ball, and he's earned himself the Friday night. To move to Friday night is a testament to how he has developed and how he has worked through this. Let's see. We're almost done. Basically, this is a reminder, you can buy your women's NIT tickets. Do that. Men's tennis and women's soccer both ended up in the top 25 this week in their respective polls. So good for them. I'm repping with the Ole Miss soccer shirt every now and then on a show. I enjoy that. And anything more? I mean, buy the tickets, go to the game, support the women's team. They go for the women's NIT semifinal, get to the championship game. That's what they're trying to do. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes back. Thank you again for tuning in today. And, as always, hotty toddy.
I'm not too worried about, and don't misunderstand, I'm itinerary and what we do. So even when we go to a neutral site, a lot of that is why we do it.